As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner, YouGov, offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more.
Let's talk about Guild Esports. If you remember, Guild Esports, public gaming company or esports org based in London, they're in the news this week. Let me read the headline. Guild Esports to set up gaming academy and global headquarters in London. Co-owner David Beckham says he is, quote, really excited by the news. I had a good chuckle when I read this. The people in this room know why. Basically, they signed a 10-year property lease to create their Guild Academy. It's going to house what they call their academy and complement and support the world's most comprehensive and innovative online training portal. I don't know what that means. It says, in addition to nurturing new talent and providing state-of-the-art training grounds for our pro teams, we also expand upon brand recognition and unlock a range of commercialization opportunities, which we look forward to realizing in due course. The headquarters will house content and editing facilities, streaming rooms, a partner activation area, and a Guild merchandise shop. I mean, I have such strong thoughts on this, guys, but I'm really curious. What do you think of Guild's move here? You know, we've talked ad nauseum about gaming houses, content houses, esports centers, like physical facilities for esports orgs. Where do you put this one, right? Like, I think a lot of you were fans of the Cash App compound that 100 Thieves built, right? If I'm not mistaken. Like, is this the right model for Guild? Is it different because they're public, because they're in the UK? Where are your thoughts on this? If anyone has sort of strong thoughts.
I mean, the academy model is interesting. It said it in the article. Talked about how that is pretty popular in European soccer. So, I like the idea of them incorporating kind of the physical aspect with some training. Maybe people come there, they don't have access to the same hardware and stuff like that. So they come for training and camaraderie. Like anything else, it all depends on, and I hate sort of when we say this because it can be said about anything, it all depends on execution and sort of what you paid. If they invested $30 million in this house, then they're never going to make the money back. But, if they did this in a capital prudent way, like I do think experiential, physical, retail can still work, even as we exit COVID. I remember being pretty bullish on the Cash App compound. I don't even remember if that was pre-COVID. It may have been. We've been doing this show for so long. But yeah, I'm still bullish on that. I think it could work, but it definitely depends on how much they're investing in this.
Jeff, do you believe David Beckham is really excited?
I believe for sure that it said that in the press release. I'm not sure that David Beckham knows that this is happening, but good for him. Someone on his team probably gave the approval to put that quote in there, I'm sure.
Jimmy, you have thoughts on this?
I think compounds were a really cool idea when 100 Thieves was building theirs, and a few years before that, when these were really getting started. I think a lot of orgs now are even moving away from that because it was either a waste of money, like Jeff said, because it was too expensive, or because their streamers are all over the place and it was too hard. Like, why would we just have this one facility that costs us money when everything can be remote? I think Jeff made a good point about whether or not it'll be a success based off of that alone. I just wanted to add the cultural element. I'm not sure how the society in London is going to take to this compound, if they'll visit it, if it'll be a fun thing for them to go and do, the way if you dropped it in a different city in South Korea or anywhere in the world, right? You just look at these facilities and these businesses and you think, well, just because it works in one city or in one country doesn't mean it's going to have the same application elsewhere. So I like that, I mean, I love London. I know it's not Paul's favorite. It's one of my favorite places to visit, but I just don't know how the community is going to take to wanting to go there and visit or see it, or even just point at it and say like, hey, that's ours and that's part of that industry. And it's pretty cool to have here, the way, a lot of people in Los Angeles can drive by Cash App and just point and be like, that's an awesome facility. And there's a big team that works there. I just think that the whole compound idea was a really cool one, like 2.5, 3 years ago. And I don't know if it's still needed, because esports is so much more. If anything, locking esports down to a specific geography is the one thing that we've seen doesn't really work that well. Activision tried it with these teams that had names based off of cities, and people still didn't care. It's like, just because I'm from New York doesn't mean I want to watch the Excelsior. So for that reason, also, I just don't know if having a specific location that you call your home or a region is all that needed today.
The UK is our second biggest market for viewers and listeners here at the Business of Esports. So I love London.
You sound like you're from London.
Well, now they're gone, Jeff.
Lindsay, sorry, I'm just joking, obviously.
At DEFCON 23, the juice.
Oh no, come on! This is just blatant. Lindsay, save us, please. Bring us back on track here.
Oh my goodness! I actually happened to listen to a really fun and compelling presentation this morning from a Scottish woman who was doing a lot with youth in esports in Scotland, and was really excited about the prospect of going to in-person places and doing that kind of stuff with kids. The problem with all of this is it sounds great and it sounds fun. I don't really know how it makes money that well and sustainably. I do feel like now that we're all starting to kind of get back out in the world, there's this push again to do in-person things. But in-person things weren't going well necessarily before COVID. I don't know that they'll go super great after COVID. And to Jeff's point, it's the same thing that we always say, it's true, but if it's done well, yeah, it can succeed. Do I think that this is a smash hit just because Guild is doing it and just because it's in London? I'm less convinced, but I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Chris says, but did he tweet it, referring to David Beckham? Chris, I don't know if David Beckham tweeted it, but at Jeff Cohen 23 will definitely ask David Beckham on Twitter if he thinks this is really exciting. I hate this. I hate it. I hate it so much. I don't even like,
you really feel.
The absolute lamest thing I think any company can do is just be copycats, right? And at this point, this is just like, now every esports org in the US has done this, right? 100 Thieves has done it, and FaZe and all. Like, now Guild decides to do it, wanting to be cool. Like, it's not cool anymore. And I think to Jimmy's point, Jimmy said it more eloquently than I did. This was a good plan like 2.5 years ago. You're late to the party. It's not cool anymore. It's been done. Come up with new things. Guild Esports is there's no original thought there. There's zero original thought there. It's, FaZe went public, will go public. And by the way, they went public with nothing, like no business. Those guys have a celebrity endorsement, will get a celebrity endorsement. Those guys have a house, will get a house, right? Like, do anything original. Like, have one original thought, please. It's just so lame. It's so lame. I didn't even want to do this story. It angers me so much how lame this is.
Tell us how you really feel.
I'm just like, I cheered the day that sponsor pulled out. They lost a sponsor that they never named, like this mystery around sponsors. And I was like, smart on this sponsor, right? Because these guys are lame. The brand is lame. The David Beckham quote is lame. Just everything about them is just so underwhelming. And I'm amazed that they still get any attention or airtime.
It's too bad you're such a wallflower when it comes to these things.
You should get on Twitter.
I want these orgs to succeed, like, desperately. And I will say, like, for anyone who listened to last week's episode, by the way, with tips from OTK, like, there's an esports org doing it right, doing really cool things. So it's not like I'm against. I'm harsh on everybody. I think some are just being smarter and more innovative than others, and I haven't seen one interesting thing from them. Wenji says, just reading the article, under the lease agreement, Guild Esports has a 26-month period free of rent and a break clause, which it can activate after 5 years. Is it just cheap property? I mean, that's probably just the market, right? Like that people are desperate for tenants, and they got some free rent for a period of time, which good for them, right? To Jeff's point, may end up being a decent business decision, but just doesn't feel cool, right? Does not feel like they're moving the needle or the whatever forward in terms of esports orgs.
I guess the only thing I would question, has this been done? Because I know here in the US, gaming houses, it's been done, but like, has anyone in the UK done it? Because there is always a lot of success, like taking ideas that may not be new here or may not be new one place and doing them elsewhere. And like the people in London could think this is the coolest thing ever because they're not sitting in San Francisco where there's 42 of these.
I thought Gen G was one of the first. There one in Seoul, South Korea. I thought that's been up for a long time now. I remember watching the YouTube video.
Not London either, but yeah.
Right. But that's what I meant. I thought you meant anywhere else besides here. Sorry,
I wasn't trying
you
to
meant in London. Sorry,
no, my comment. I meant London.
Yeah.
It's a good question, Jeff, and you're right. Again, I want to separate the fact that I'm not being totally harsh on this from a business standpoint. It may be the right business decision. I don't think it is. I just think all that time, effort, and resources are better spent on things that are more innovative, that are differentiated, that aren't just literally copying what someone else has done 50 times over. When she says 28 months committed rent for 5 years of property, yeah, it seems like a good deal. Agreed. Tom Leonard says, just curious, are the guild teams any good? Winners? Anyone here know?
I feel like if they were winners, we would know.
Yeah. I guess that tells you everything you need to know.
Good. It's a good question, Tom. It's an excellent question, in fact, but I don't think any of us follow them, unfortunately. Chris says they could have just rented the Thum house now that space is available. Chris, I don't know which. Am I missing a reference here? Is that the NRG one or something?
Yeah, NRG.
I don't remember. I don't know. But explain the reference, Chris. Sorry, if you guys know, please explain to me. All right, guys. Let's go ahead, Jimmy.
I was just gonna say it's the failed NRG house.
Okay. That was in London, right?
I don't remember the location. I remember just a lot of talk about this house and then no talk about it. So I need to look up more about it as well. But like to Chris's point, exactly right. Like this hyped up thing that everyone talked about and then stopped is probably available.
Wenji says, I'm not aware of any gaming houses, to be honest, but there may be. Lots of client houses / groups, though, have been talked about before in mainstream papers, etc. Weren't they based in a football stadium before? Guild in a football stadium? Maybe because of the David Beckham thing. It's unclear, and I feel like this proves the point that like no one cares, right? No one follows how cool your gaming house is, and there's ways of making great content without having a cool house. Like I just think you don't need the cool house to make the cool content, and this sort of proves that.